The world has always been fascinated by prophecies, predictions of events that seem impossible at the time, but later unfold with astonishing accuracy. Among the most remarkable prophecies ever recorded are those made by Prophet Muhammad, a man who lived over 1,400 years ago in the deserts of Arabia. Without access to modern knowledge, advanced technology, or global information networks, he spoke of events that would shape the future, many of which have already come to pass. These prophecies were not vague or general statements that could be interpreted in multiple ways, but were instead specific, detailed, and, at times, even shocking to those who first heard them. Prophet Muhammad's sayings and predictions are well documented in Islamic teachings and preserved in the hadiths, narrations passed down by his companions and later compiled by scholars. Many of these prophecies describe changes in society, morality, leadership, technology, and human behavior. At the time, these statements seemed unlikely, even absurd, to the people who heard them. How could a desert society, where people lived in tents and simple homes, ever see towering skyscrapers? How could vast distances be traveled in mere hours when the only means of transport were camels and horses? Yet today, in the modern era, these once unbelievable predictions have become a reality. Beyond societal and technological advancements, Prophet Muhammad also spoke of significant transformations in human values and ethics. He warned of a time when corruption would spread, when leaders would be unworthy of their positions, and when trust and honesty would become rare virtues. He described an age where immorality would be normalized, where people would chase material wealth at the cost of their souls, and where knowledge would increase, yet wisdom would decline. These statements were not only predictions but also warnings, signs meant to help people recognize the unfolding events and prepare themselves for what is to come. In the modern world, where scientific progress and technological advancements dominate, many assume that religious teachings have little to offer in terms of insight into the future. However, the accuracy of Prophet Muhammad's prophecies challenges this notion. If someone who lived centuries ago could foresee events with such precision, what does that say about the source of his knowledge? Could this be evidence that he was divinely inspired? As we explore these fulfilled prophecies, we will see how the past connects with the present and how history has unfolded exactly as he predicted. During the time of Prophet Muhammad, the Arabian Peninsula was a vast desert, inhabited by simple tribal societies. The people lived in tents or modest homes made of mud and stone, with little infrastructure beyond the occasional marketplace or mosque. There were no towering structures, no grand palaces stretching into the sky, and certainly no advanced construction techniques. Yet Prophet Muhammad made a striking prophecy that left many of his companions confused. He foretold a time when those who were once poor, barefoot shepherds of the desert would compete with one another in constructing tall buildings. At the time, such a statement must have seemed almost unimaginable. Arabia had no history of monumental architecture like that of the Romans, Persians, or Egyptians. The idea that the very people struggling to survive in the desert would one day lead the world in building some of its tallest structures seemed completely unrealistic. Fast forward to today, and the accuracy of this prophecy is undeniable. The Arabian Peninsula, once known for its vast empty deserts, is now home to some of the most impressive skyscrapers in the world. In cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Riyadh, glass and steel giants rise far above the landscape, symbolizing wealth, power, and modernity. The Burj Khalifa, standing at a staggering 828 meters, is the tallest building in the world and is located in Dubai, a city that was little more than a fishing village just a few decades ago. Not far behind, Saudi Arabia is constructing its own record-breaking skyscraper, the Jeddah Tower, which once completed is expected to surpass 1 kilometer in height. These developments align precisely with the Prophet's words. Former desert dwellers, once struggling for survival, are now engaged in a race to build the most awe-inspiring structures. The transformation of the region is nothing short of miraculous. Just 70 years ago, cities like Dubai and Riyadh were far from the global metropolises they are today. The people of these lands, once nomadic or engaged in small-scale trade, have become some of the wealthiest individuals in the world, largely due to the discovery of oil. With newfound economic power, they have poured their resources into grand architectural projects, pushing the boundaries of engineering and urban development. What makes this prophecy even more remarkable is its specificity. Prophet Muhammad did not simply state that tall buildings would be built somewhere in the world, something that could be expected as civilizations progressed. Instead, he identified that those competing in this architectural race would be from the very lands where his people once roamed, barefoot and impoverished. Many skeptics might argue that advancements in construction and economic prosperity naturally lead to the development of tall buildings. However, the fact that this transformation happened exactly where and how it was predicted over 1,400 years ago is beyond coincidence. The Arabian Peninsula was not a center of power or wealth at the time of the prophecy, and yet it has become precisely that in the modern era. The skyscrapers of the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia are more than just symbols of economic growth. They are also living proof of the fulfillment of a prophecy made centuries ago. This stunning accuracy raises an important question. How could a man in the 7th century, with no access to modern knowledge or foresight, predict something so specific about the future? The only logical answer is that these words were not his own, but were revealed to him by a divine source. In the 7th century, when Prophet Muhammad spoke of the future, the fastest means of travel available was a horse or a camel. Journeys that took days, weeks, or even months were the norm, and no one could have imagined a world where people would traverse vast distances in mere hours. Yet, Prophet Muhammad made a bold prediction, one that must have seemed impossible to those listening. He described a time when great distances would be covered in short periods, a statement that puzzled his companions. How could a person move so quickly across lands that once required painstaking effort to traverse? At the time, such an idea was unfathomable, as no one could foresee the technological advancements that would reshape the way people traveled. Centuries later, the world witnessed the dawn of an era where travel became unimaginably fast. From the development of steam-powered trains in the 19th century to the invention of automobiles and airplanes in the 20th century, humanity has achieved exactly what was foretold. Today, airplanes allow people to cross continents in hours, reducing what were once months-long journeys into mere days. A flight from Mecca to New York, which would have been inconceivable in ancient times, now takes less than 15 hours. High-speed trains, such as Japan's Shinkansen and Europe's bullet trains, travel at breathtaking speeds, making it possible to move between cities that once required extensive travel by foot or horseback in just a few short hours. Cars and highways have revolutionized daily commutes, turning what once required days of arduous travel into quick, effortless trips. Beyond traditional means of transportation, modern advancements continue to push the limits of speed and efficiency. Space travel, a concept that did not even exist in the imagination of people from earlier centuries, has become a reality. Rockets now carry astronauts beyond the Earth's atmosphere, and discussions of space tourism and interplanetary travel are actively taking place. Hypersonic jets are being developed, capable of cutting travel time even further, making journeys between distant continents a matter of minutes rather than hours. The speed of transportation today would have been incomprehensible to the people of Prophet Muhammad's time, yet it has become an undeniable reality. The accuracy of this prophecy is not merely about the existence of fast travel, but also about its widespread accessibility. What was once a luxury available only to the wealthiest individuals has now become commonplace. Millions of people board airplanes every day, taking for granted a reality that was once considered impossible. The prophet's words did not describe a vague future change in the way people moved, but rather a specific transformation in the way distances were traversed, a change so dramatic that it redefined human civilization. The fulfillment of this prophecy is yet another example of how his words, spoken over 1,400 years ago, accurately describe the reality of the modern world. This begs the question, how could a man living in a time of camels and caravans foresee the revolution of transportation that would shape the world centuries later? During his lifetime, Prophet Muhammad spoke extensively about leadership and governance, emphasizing justice, wisdom, and responsibility. He warned of a time when leadership would no longer be entrusted to those who were worthy, but instead given to the most corrupt and unqualified individuals. He stated that one of the signs of the last day would be the appointment of leaders who were the worst among the people, individuals who lacked integrity, morality, and the ability to govern justly. At the time, this prophecy may have seemed strange, as leadership in tribal Arabia was often based on respect, reputation, and wisdom. Leaders were chosen for their ability to protect and guide their people, and while corruption did exist, it was not widespread on a global scale. Today, this prediction has become a stark reality. Around the world, political systems are plagued by dishonesty, manipulation, and self-interest. In many nations, leaders rise to power not through merit or competence, but through deceit, financial influence, and political maneuvering. Corruption scandals involving presidents, prime ministers, and high-ranking officials have become common. Many politicians prioritize personal gain over public service, making decisions that benefit the elite while neglecting the needs of ordinary citizens. The rise of authoritarian regimes, political dynasties, and incompetent figures in high positions is a direct reflection of the prophet's words. Power is frequently concentrated in the hands of those who misuse it, leading to widespread oppression, economic disparity, and the suffering of millions. Beyond politics, corruption has infiltrated almost every institution that once held a sacred duty to the people. Media organizations, which were meant to serve as watchdogs for truth, have become tools for propaganda, spreading misinformation to shape public opinion in favor of certain individuals or groups. Businesses once built on trust and integrity are often controlled by executives who prioritize profits over ethics. Even religious institutions are not immune, as history has shown cases of corruption among leaders who exploit their positions for personal gain. The disappearance of trustworthy figures in positions of power is one of the defining characteristics of the modern world, mirroring exactly what Prophet Muhammad warned about. What makes this prophecy even more astonishing is its universality. Corrupt and unqualified leaders are not limited to a single region or government system. They are found across different cultures, ideologies, and economic structures. Whether in democracies, monarchies, or dictatorships, the common theme remains the same. Those who should not be in power often find their way to the top, while those with true wisdom and moral integrity are sidelined. The world has reached a point where honesty in leadership is an exception rather than the norm, proving once again the accuracy of the prophet's foresight. More than just a prediction, this prophecy serves as a warning, urging people to recognize the importance of justice and righteousness in governance. It challenges society to reflect on the state of leadership today and consider what steps can be taken to restore the values of truth, fairness, and accountability before it is too late. Prophet Muhammad warned of a time when trustworthiness would disappear and dishonesty would become widespread. He spoke of a future where people would struggle to find individuals they could truly rely on, where deception would become a norm rather than an exception. At the time, trust was one of the most valued traits in Arabian society. Business transactions were conducted based on a person's word, and reputations were built on integrity. Honesty was considered a foundation of social and economic interactions, and breaking one's trust was a serious offense. The prophet's warning must have seemed alarming to his followers, as it described a world where truth would be rare and falsehood would dominate every aspect of life. Today, this prophecy has been fulfilled in a way that is undeniable. Dishonesty has become ingrained in the systems that govern modern society. In politics, leaders make promises they never intend to keep, manipulating public sentiment to gain power. Once elected, they often act in self-interest, making decisions that benefit a select few while deceiving the very people who trusted them. In the corporate world, misleading advertisements, fraudulent business practices, and hidden fees are common, making it increasingly difficult for consumers to know whether they are being treated fairly. Many companies prioritize profits over ethical practices, deceiving customers through fine print, exaggerated claims, and marketing tactics designed to mislead rather than inform. The media, once regarded as a source of truth, is now filled with bias, misinformation, and manipulation. News is often shaped by political agendas or corporate interests, making it difficult for people to discern fact from fiction. Social media has further amplified the spread of dishonesty, with fake news, deep fakes, and false narratives influencing public opinion on a massive scale. People are quick to believe and share information without verifying its authenticity, contributing to a culture where lies travel faster than the truth. The line between reality and illusion has blurred, creating a world where deception is not only accepted, but sometimes even rewarded. On a personal level, the loss of trust has affected relationships between individuals. Marriages are plagued by infidelity and broken commitments. Friendships and business partnerships dissolve due to betrayal. Contracts and legal agreements, which were once sealed with a handshake, now require extensive documentation because people can no longer be trusted to honor their word. Even in daily interactions, deception has become commonplace, from small lies told to avoid inconvenience to large-scale fraud that ruins lives. The trust that once held communities together has eroded, leaving behind a society where suspicion and doubt replace sincerity and reliability. The impact of this prophecy is evident in every corner of the modern world. When Prophet Muhammad spoke of a future where trust would fade, he was describing a reality that is now unmistakable. What was once an unshakable virtue has become a rarity, proving yet again the accuracy of his words. More than just a prediction, this warning serves as a reminder of the importance of honesty, urging people to uphold truthfulness before it becomes entirely lost. In a time when deception is everywhere, maintaining integrity has become an act of defiance against a world consumed by falsehood. Prophet Muhammad foretold a time when killing would become so widespread that neither the killer nor the one being killed would understand the reason behind it. He warned of an era when human life would lose its value and senseless bloodshed would become a common occurrence. At the time of this prophecy, war was usually fought for land, honor, or resources, and conflicts were often personal or tribal. Killing had a reason, even if it was unjust, and there was a clear understanding of why a person fought. The idea that people would one day kill without knowing why must have seemed strange to those who first heard it. Today, this prophecy has been fulfilled in the most chilling way. Around the world, violence has reached unprecedented levels, with killings happening so frequently that they no longer shock society as they once did. Mass shootings, acts of terrorism, random stabbings, and violent crimes occur daily, often without any clear motive. The news is filled with reports of innocent people losing their lives in schools, shopping centers, places of worship, and even their own homes. Many perpetrators of these attacks do not even understand their own actions, acting under the influence of hatred, radicalization, mental illness, or sheer desperation. Victims, too, often have no connection to their killers, making the violence all the more senseless. War and conflict have also taken on a new and terrifying dimension. Unlike the past, when wars were fought between armies, modern warfare often targets civilians, leaving countless innocent people dead in the crossfire. Drone strikes, bombings, and military operations have resulted in the deaths of thousands who had nothing to do with the battles being fought. Entire regions have been plunged into chaos, with factions fighting for reasons that even those involved struggle to fully comprehend. The lines between aggressor and victim have blurred, and violence has become so normalized that many accept it as an unavoidable part of life. Gang violence and organized crime have further contributed to the senseless killing that Prophet Muhammad predicted. In many cities, young people lose their lives over petty disputes, territorial conflicts, or simply being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Social media has fueled rivalries, leading to shootings and stabbings that escalate from online arguments. Many who engage in these acts of violence do so without any true understanding of why, often influenced by peer pressure, ideology, or the false belief that their actions will bring them status or respect. The most disturbing aspect of this prophecy is how human life has been devalued to such an extent that people can kill without remorse. In some parts of the world, violence is so frequent that people become desensitized to it. Death is no longer met with the same level of shock and grief as it once was. News of killings is consumed and forgotten in an instant, replaced by the next headline of bloodshed. The cycle continues, with new conflicts emerging and more innocent lives being lost. The prophet's warning about a time when killing would become meaningless is not just a prediction. It is a reality, unfolding before the world's eyes. What seemed unimaginable centuries ago has now become an undeniable truth. More than just a sign of the times, this prophecy serves as a call for humanity to reflect on its current path. As violence spirals out of control, the need for justice, peace, and respect for human life has never been more urgent. Prophet Muhammad warned of a time when interest would become so widespread that no one would be able to escape its effects. Even those who tried to avoid it would still be impacted by its dust, meaning that the financial systems of the world would be built upon interest to such an extent that avoiding it entirely would become nearly impossible. During his time, lending money with interest was seen as a corrupt practice that led to exploitation and economic imbalance. Islam strongly discouraged it, as it allowed the wealthy to grow richer at the expense of the poor, creating a system where financial power was concentrated in the hands of a few. In the 7th century, interest-based transactions were limited, and economic life was largely based on trade, barter, and honest business practices. Today, the prophecy has been fulfilled with remarkable accuracy. The modern global economy is entirely built upon interest. From bank loans and credit cards to mortgages and student debt, nearly every financial transaction involves some form of interest. Governments themselves are deeply entrenched in this system, borrowing money at high interest rates and forcing citizens to bear the burden of repayment through taxes and inflation. No matter where a person lives or how they try to manage their finances, they are affected by this reality in one way or another. Banks and financial institutions control the world's economy through interest-based lending. People who need homes, cars, or even education must take out loans that come with compounding interest, ensuring that they pay back far more than they originally borrowed. The system is designed so that debt continues to grow, trapping individuals, businesses, and even entire nations in cycles of financial dependency. Those who cannot keep up with their payments face severe consequences, including bankruptcy, foreclosure, or financial ruin. The wealthy who own these institutions continue to accumulate more power, while the average person struggles to break free from debt. Beyond personal finance, corporations and governments rely on interest to maintain economic stability. Countries borrow money from global financial organizations, promising to repay with interest that accumulates over time. This debt often leads to economic crises, forcing governments to impose austerity measures that harm ordinary citizens. Inflation, driven by excessive borrowing and interest-based lending, devalues money over time, making it harder for people to afford basic necessities. As a result, even those who never take out loans or use credit cards still suffer the consequences of an economy controlled by interest. The prophecy's accuracy is undeniable. No matter how one tries to avoid it, the reality is that interest touches every aspect of life. Those who wish to live debt-free often find themselves indirectly affected through rising costs, financial instability, and the increasing power of banks over society. The fact that Prophet Muhammad could foresee such an economic system over 1,400 years ago is astonishing. At a time when financial transactions were simple and straightforward, He predicted a world where interest would dominate the global economy. More than just a warning, this prophecy serves as a reminder of the ethical dangers of an economy driven by debt and greed. It challenges humanity to rethink financial systems and seek alternatives that promote fairness, justice, and economic balance. Prophet Muhammad warned of a time when immorality and sexual promiscuity would become widespread, to the point that it would be normalized in society. He stated that people would engage in illicit relationships openly and without shame, and that, as a result, new diseases would emerge that had never been seen before. At the time of this prophecy, modesty and chastity were highly valued, and while wrongdoing existed, it was not something that was publicly displayed or accepted. Societies had moral boundaries, and violations of those boundaries were met with consequences. The idea that people would one day flaunt their immorality and that marriage would become secondary to casual relationships must have seemed unthinkable to those who first heard it. Today, this prophecy has come true in ways that could not have been imagined centuries ago. Sexual relationships outside of marriage, once seen as scandalous in most cultures, have become so common that they are considered normal. Casual encounters, short-term relationships, and one-night stands are now widely accepted and even encouraged. Social media, entertainment, and advertising continuously promote hypersexualization, making it nearly impossible to escape the influence of sexual imagery. What was once reserved for private relationships is now displayed openly in music videos, movies, and television shows, desensitizing entire generations to the concept of modesty. The impact of this cultural shift has been profound. Marriage, once regarded as the foundation of a stable society, has seen a dramatic decline in importance. Many people now choose to delay or avoid marriage altogether, prioritizing personal freedom over commitment. Cohabitation without marriage has become the norm in many parts of the world, and the traditional family structure is weakening. Children are increasingly being raised in single-parent households, and the emotional and psychological effects of unstable family environments are becoming more apparent. The institution of marriage is no longer seen as necessary, and in some cases, it is even viewed as restrictive or outdated. Alongside the rise in promiscuity, Prophet Muhammad's warning about new diseases has also been fulfilled. Illnesses, such as HIV and other sexually transmitted infections, which were unknown in earlier times, have emerged and spread as a direct consequence of reckless sexual behavior. Despite medical advancements, these diseases continue to affect millions of people around the world, proving that the Prophet's words were not only a moral warning, but also a prediction of real-world consequences. What makes this prophecy even more astonishing is how it applies universally. Regardless of geography, culture, or economic status, societies around the world have embraced lifestyles that align with this prediction. The loss of modesty, the decline of traditional values, and the rise of relationships based solely on physical attraction are global phenomena. Even in regions that once upheld strict moral codes, the influence of modern media and cultural shifts has led to a rapid transformation in attitudes toward relationships and sexuality. The fulfillment of this prophecy is yet another undeniable sign of the accuracy of Prophet Muhammad's words. He described a future where morality would decline and where people would engage in behavior that was once considered unthinkable. His warning serves as a reminder that every society must reflect on its values and consider the consequences of abandoning principles that promote stability, respect, and commitment. More than just a prediction, it is a call to preserve dignity and honor in a world that increasingly encourages the opposite. Prophet Muhammad foretold a time when the number of children born outside of marriage would increase dramatically. He warned that promiscuity would lead to a breakdown in traditional family structures, resulting in more children being raised without stable parental relationships. During his time, having children outside of marriage was rare and carried a heavy social stigma. Family life was built on strong moral foundations, and marriage was the cornerstone of society. The idea that large numbers of children would one day be born without their parents being legally or socially committed to each other must have seemed impossible to those who first heard the prophecy. Today, this prediction has become a reality in nearly every part of the world. The number of children born out of wedlock has risen sharply over the past century. In many Western countries, nearly half of all births now occur outside of marriage. In some cases, the percentage is even higher. This shift reflects a dramatic change in societal attitudes toward marriage, commitment, and responsibility. What was once considered abnormal or even shameful is now widely accepted, with single parenthood becoming increasingly common. The traditional family structure, which was once the foundation of a stable society, has weakened as more people choose to have children without marrying or maintaining long-term relationships. The consequences of this trend are evident in various ways. Studies show that children raised in single-parent households are more likely to experience economic hardship, emotional struggles, and behavioral issues. Without the stability of a two-parent home, many children face difficulties in education, mental health, and overall well-being. The absence of a father or mother figure in a child's life often leads to identity struggles and a higher risk of falling into negative social influences. While many single parents work tirelessly to provide the best for their children, the reality remains that children born into unstable family situations often face greater challenges. This increase in illegitimate births is directly linked to the rise of casual relationships and the decline of marriage. As society places more emphasis on individual freedom and self-fulfillment, fewer people see the necessity of formalizing their relationships through marriage. The availability of contraception and changes in cultural norms have contributed to this shift, allowing people to engage in relationships without long-term commitments. However, despite these changes, the biological and emotional needs of children remain unchanged. They still require stability, love, and guidance, something that is most effectively provided within a committed family structure. The accuracy of this prophecy is undeniable. Prophet Muhammad not only predicted a rise in illegitimate births, but also linked it to the broader moral and social decay of society. His words serve as both a warning and a reflection of the challenges that modern civilization faces. The disintegration of the family unit has far-reaching effects, influencing not only individuals, but entire communities and nations. The fulfillment of this prophecy is yet another indication of the profound wisdom in his teachings, and a call for people to reconsider the impact of their choices on future generations. Prophet Muhammad made a striking prophecy about the future of modesty, particularly concerning the way women would dress. He stated that a time would come when women would be dressed yet appear naked, a statement that must have been perplexing to those who first heard it. During his time, modesty was deeply ingrained in society, and both men and women dressed conservatively. Clothing was designed to cover the body, and immodesty was frowned upon. The idea that women would one day wear clothes that, despite covering them, would still reveal their shape must have seemed almost contradictory. Yet today, this prophecy has been fulfilled in ways that were unimaginable centuries ago. In the modern world, clothing trends have changed drastically. Modesty, once a universal standard, has largely been replaced by fashion that emphasizes revealing more of the body rather than covering it. Tight-fitting, transparent, and minimalistic clothing has become the norm in many parts of the world, especially in the entertainment and fashion industries. Even in societies where modest dress was once the standard, Western influence has led to rapid changes in clothing styles. The idea that less clothing represents progress, empowerment, or freedom has become widely accepted, despite the clear consequences it has on social values and personal dignity. The entertainment industry has played a significant role in normalizing revealing clothing. Celebrities and influencers set trends that millions of people follow, making immodest fashion desirable and even aspirational. Social media has further accelerated this trend, with platforms like Instagram and TikTok promoting images of individuals wearing increasingly revealing outfits. As people are constantly exposed to these images, modesty becomes outdated in the eyes of many, and the pressure to conform to modern beauty standards leads to a widespread acceptance of immodest attire. Clothing, which was once meant to provide dignity and protection, is now often used to seek validation and social approval. The shift in fashion is not only about individual choices, but also about broader societal changes. Advertisements, television shows, and music videos constantly push boundaries, desensitizing people to the concept of modesty. What was considered shocking or inappropriate just a few decades ago is now widely accepted, and the line between what is decent and indecent continues to blur. The result is a society where self-worth is increasingly tied to physical appearance, and where revealing clothing is often associated with confidence and success, rather than with a loss of values. This prophecy is another example of the incredible accuracy of Prophet Muhammad's words. He did not simply predict a change in clothing styles, but described a paradox where people would believe they were dressed, while in reality, their clothing would serve the opposite purpose. This shift in modesty has not only affected individual behavior, but has also influenced the way relationships, gender dynamics, and self-perception are shaped in modern times. More than just a prediction, this serves as a reminder of how societal values evolve and the importance of preserving dignity and self-respect in an era where modesty is increasingly viewed as outdated. Prophet Muhammad warned that a time would come when intoxicants would be consumed on a massive scale, becoming widespread and normalized in society. At the time of this prophecy, alcohol and other forms of intoxication existed, but were largely limited to specific social settings and were not as easily accessible as they are today. Islam prohibited intoxicants due to their harmful effects on both the individual and society, emphasizing their role in impairing judgment, destroying families, and leading to moral and societal decay. The idea that intoxicants would one day become not only common, but also widely accepted and even promoted must have seemed difficult to comprehend in an era where self-restraint and discipline were highly valued. In modern times, the accuracy of this prophecy is undeniable. Alcohol consumption has become a deeply embedded part of social life in many cultures, with bars, nightclubs, and liquor stores found in nearly every city around the world. Drinking alcohol is often seen as a form of celebration, relaxation, or even a symbol of status. Large industries profit from its production and sale, and governments tax it as a major source of revenue, further solidifying its place in society. Despite its well-documented negative effects, such as addiction, liver disease, and impaired decision-making leading to accidents and violence, alcohol remains one of the most socially accepted intoxicants. Beyond alcohol, the use of recreational drugs has also seen a dramatic rise. Substances such as marijuana, cocaine, ecstasy, and hallucinogens have become increasingly common, particularly among younger generations. In many countries, marijuana is being legalized or decriminalized, making it even more accessible to the public. The rise of party drugs and synthetic narcotics has contributed to a culture where drug use is glamorized, with music, films, and media often portraying intoxication as fun, harmless, or even fashionable. The once taboo nature of drug use has faded, leading to an era where intoxication is not only tolerated, but actively encouraged in many circles. Prescription drug abuse has also become a major crisis. Many people turn to painkillers, sedatives, and stimulants, often becoming dependent on them to cope with stress, anxiety, or daily life pressures. The opioid epidemic in many parts of the world has resulted in countless deaths and broken families, yet pharmaceutical companies continue to push addictive medications for profit. The normalization of both legal and illegal substances has created a society where avoiding intoxicants entirely is becoming increasingly difficult. The fulfillment of this prophecy is not just about the widespread availability of intoxicants, but also about their deep integration into social and cultural life. Many people who wish to avoid them find themselves pressured into consuming them in social settings. Governments regulate and even promote their use despite knowing the harm they cause. This reality aligns perfectly with what Prophet Muhammad predicted, proving once again the extraordinary foresight in his words. The widespread use of intoxicants has led to broken homes, deteriorating health, and countless lives destroyed by addiction, showing the profound consequences of a prophecy that has come to pass with astonishing accuracy. Prophet Muhammad foretold a time when literacy would become widespread, yet true knowledge would decline. At the time of this prophecy, reading and writing were skills possessed by only a small portion of society. Books were rare, and information was primarily passed down through oral tradition. Knowledge was deeply respected and often sought from scholars and wise individuals who had spent years mastering their fields. Education was not merely about the ability to read or write, but about acquiring wisdom, understanding, and moral guidance. The idea that literacy could increase while true knowledge diminished must have seemed contradictory to those who first heard it. Today, this prophecy has been fulfilled in a way that is both astonishing and deeply concerning. Literacy rates across the world have reached historic highs. Most people, regardless of their background, now have access to education and the ability to read and write. Universities, schools, and digital learning platforms provide knowledge on nearly every subject imaginable. Books, articles, and research papers are available at the touch of a button, and the internet has made information more accessible than ever before. On the surface, this would seem like a golden age of knowledge. Yet a closer examination reveals that true wisdom and understanding have suffered greatly. Despite the vast availability of information, ignorance has become widespread. Many people consume knowledge in a superficial manner, skimming headlines, watching short videos, or absorbing information without deep thought or reflection. Social media and the internet have made it easy for misinformation to spread rapidly, leading to a culture where falsehoods are often accepted as truth. People rarely question the sources of their knowledge or seek deeper understanding. They assume that having access to information is the same as possessing wisdom, yet in reality, true knowledge requires critical thinking, discernment, and intellectual humility. The decline of wisdom is evident in the way people engage with knowledge. Instead of valuing deep learning, society increasingly prioritizes entertainment and distraction. Long-form reading and serious study have been replaced by quick consumption of media. Important discussions are reduced to slogans and sound bites, making it difficult to have meaningful debates. Critical thinking, patience, and the ability to understand complex issues are fading, leaving many people vulnerable to manipulation, propaganda, and simplistic narratives. The ability to read and write has become common, but the understanding of what is truly valuable has diminished. Religious and moral knowledge has also suffered. While information about faith and spirituality is readily available, many people no longer seek guidance from knowledgeable scholars or experienced teachers. Instead, they turn to unverified sources, forming opinions based on fragmented or misleading interpretations. As a result, misunderstandings and misrepresentations of faith have increased, leading to confusion and division. The decline of wisdom is not just a matter of lost academic knowledge, but of a weakening of the principles that once guided human civilization. This prophecy is yet another example of Prophet Muhammad's extraordinary foresight. He did not simply predict an increase in literacy, but warned of a time when knowledge would lose its depth and purpose. The modern world is overflowing with information, yet lacks true wisdom. More than just a prediction, this serves as a reminder to seek knowledge that is meaningful, beneficial, and rooted in truth, rather than settling for a superficial understanding of the world.